Hello, it's Jason Heath here with Contrabass Conversations, and this is a relatively short episode with a past guest, James Oesi, who organizes the Dutch Double Bass Festival, which is coming up this June. This is June 2019 if you're listening to this in the future. But it's an incredible lineup. So cool. We go into all those details here with James. I just love what he's up to in the music world and can't say enough good things about him. I'll link up to our original chat if you want to hear more about his path from South Africa to all the different places that he's lived and worked and now in the Netherlands. And definitely check out the website for this event. It's an easy URL, even if you're on the train or on a run. dbf.nl. That's for Dutch Double Bass Festival Netherlands. And if you're in Europe, especially if you're in Europe, check it out. It sounds like a fantastic lineup. June 8th and 9th in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. Thank you so much to our sponsors. We're not going to run any ads in this one because it's a short episode, but thank you so much to Upton Bass, Steve Swan String Bass, Dario Strings, the Bass Violin Shop, and A440 Violin Shop. And let's get into this conversation with James Oesi. You must be in the thick of preparations for this festival. It's in 2.5 weeks, something like that?
Yes, something about, it's, I think, between 2 and 3 weeks, okay. The 8th and 9th of June. I'm actually curious. I'm going to look on my calendar. And we are indeed in the thick of it. What is it now? It's the 14th of May. Yeah. So like 2.5, nearly 3. It's just under 3 weeks.
Just under 3 weeks. Okay. And the first year of the festival was 2017, if I'm remembering right. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that was a great lineup, and this is a great lineup too. I think back in 2017 you had Adam Ben Ezra. See, I'm testing my memory here, and a host of other people.
We had Adam Ben Ezra and Gary Carr and John Patitucci. I'm testing my memory now too, actually. Joris van Vinkenrooy, Edixon Ruiz. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and many others. Dominic Seldis and the basses of Rotterdam Phil. And it was a great lineup.
And this is a great lineup too. Looking through, you've got Renaud Garcia Fons, you've got Francois and Sylvain Rabath, right? Performing with orchestra.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're doing. I think I'm quite excited for it. I must say they're doing a collaboration with a really unique group here called the Amsterdam's Andalusian Orchestra. It's a group made up of musicians from Andalusia and who specialize in Middle Eastern music actually. And so they play like the oud and they play violin, but then they play violin on their lap and a lot of other traditional instruments that I can't think of the name of now. It's not very good. But it's a really special group. So they're going to work together and play together. So that should be quite special.
Did you do a festival in 2018, or did you take 2018?
No.
That's what I thought.
We took 2018 off.
Okay. So this is number 2, and as someone I've done a little bit of bass event organization in the past, but nothing on the scale of this. It's obviously a whole lot of work. So first of all, thank you for doing that. It's super cool to have an event like that come together, and talk me through, and people can check it out. Obviously, I'll link up to the website. They can get tickets. It's quite reasonable. It's less than the cost of one lesson for so it's what you get. It looks phenomenal. So maybe just walk me through what else besides those couple we highlighted. What else?
Of course. So first, I'll just say something about sort of the motivation behind the festival. Because of course there are a lot of, and thankfully it's really great that there are around the world a whole lot of bass gatherings. ISB and Bass Europe, and just to name a few. But what we wanted to do with this festival is to make something that was actually a bit more aimed at non-bassists. To sound very discriminatory, but more in a way that we wanted to celebrate the bass and the role that it has in music in general, a role that's kind of extremely fundamental, to state the real obvious, but something that a lot of people who aren't bassists don't realize. for that reason, it's really concert focused. It's 2 days of concerts nonstop, and from all different genres. And as you said, it's very reasonably priced, but it is. And the idea behind that is, so you can buy a day ticket. It's a Saturday and a Sunday. It starts on Saturday afternoon, the 8th of June, and it ends Sunday. I think the last concert's at 5 till 6. And so you can buy a ticket either for the Saturday or the Sunday, or of course for the whole festival. And the idea is that you'll buy a ticket for the day. You'll maybe, be a fan of somebody in the classical world, or somebody in the jazz world, or somebody in the new music world. But since you're there for the whole day, or you've got a ticket that lets you into all of the other concerts, then hopefully you'll stay for a concert from somebody you've never heard of, or somebody from a completely different genre. So to sort of put it into practice and walk people through this year's programming, we start on the Saturday. The festival opens with a concert that'll be Dominic Seldis, so the principal of the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra, with the bass section of the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra. I think he's bringing 6 or 7 colleagues.
Nice.
So that'll be like a real bass extravaganza. And that'll be the opening on the Saturday. I'm actually just going to grab the program here because I can't remember the exact order off the top of my head. But we have, and so that begins at 3:45. And then the night continues, and the concert after that is in the jazz stage. I call it very loosely the jazz stage, and that'll be a trio, a jazz trio from one of the prominent bassists here, Thomas Paul. And not to walk through like every single concert, but some of the highlights that evening. So Francois Rabat will be playing with the Amsterdam Andalusian Orchestra and Sylvain at 8:30. And after that, the sort of other really big concert is Omer Avital with his quartet called Cantar, and that's from 11 till midnight. And those are sort of some of the big highlights. On that evening, we also have Nicolas Cross from Ensemble Intercontemporain and Haakon Tailin, whose name I can never pronounce really properly. And I will play that evening as well. But so already just on the Saturday, you have a really quite eclectic mix of classical, you can't really get more classical, I think, than the Concertgebouw.
Right.
Dominic.
Yeah, for sure.
And me, I'm definitely I definitely occupy the classical space. And then Francois, who, of course, for us needs absolutely no introduction. Yeah. And is one of those amazing musicians who's kind of, I consider him classical, but he's also not, he's also like extra. He's also, I don't know how to articulate it. His music is so unique, and you could almost call it world music, I think, or you could call it world music. Yeah. And then of course Omer Avital, who's just completely jazz and cool, and we have So that's the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, it starts in the morning with Rickster Tain, who's a pretty well-known Dutch bassist. I know when I first came to the Netherlands and I sort of Googled like Dutch bassist, he was the name that came up.
He's phenomenal. I got a chance to hear. I got a chance to hear him play at the ISB convention back in 2017, and he did a wonderful one of the headliner recitals and played these. Awesome duets with Matthew McDonald of the Berlin Philharmonic.
Nice.
So very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, what a player.
He's amazing. He's great. And I'm really happy that we have him this year. We wanted him in the first year, and with the schedule it didn't work out. Yeah. But it's great because now we can have him this year. And he'll be playing a concert with the Matangi String Quartet and Marijn van Prooijen. Marijn van Prooijen is another bassist who's also an incredible arranger. And they've played before in that combination, so solo double bass with string quintet. And now they'll be giving a full 1.5-hour concert, and they'll be playing a lot of Piazzolla, I think. And I don't know what the rest of the concert will be. I must say, I'm really looking forward to listening, because I met, in the first year, the first festival, the first edition in 2017. I programmed myself. I felt like I have to play something, but I very stupidly did it in that time slot on a Sunday morning, and the festival then was actually 3 days. There was a Friday, which was a day of masterclasses, and so by the time Sunday came along, I was just completely wiped out, and, and I remember. And then, you have to, jump up on stage and play. And, it was fine, but it was just so, I don't remember having to ever give a concert and being so tired before. So this year, I decided, that I will definitely be doing differently. And so, I'll be playing on the Saturday with my own group. So it won't be quite as heavy a program as, because last time I did completely solo, only Bach, which, is wonderful, but it's not, you don't give yourself the easiest job in the world.
Right.
But so that'll be different this year. And that means that on Sunday, especially, I can just listen to everything without having to stress about what I have to do. So it begins with Rick, and we have on Sunday actually 2 bass guitars also playing, because we decided why not. The bass guitar is really, it's kind of the bass, there's so much overlap, and the 2 instruments are so related.
Yeah.
And so we have on Sunday we have Rickster Tain, and then we have Richard Bono with his group, which I'm super excited that they'll be playing.
Yeah, and he's played with everybody. It's just remarkable. From Branford Marsalis to I think
Pat Metheny.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. No, he's played with everybody, and he's Quincy Jones, and he's really a phenomenon. And so that'll be super exciting. And we have and again, we're now in a different location. Last time we were in The Hague, and now we're in Rotterdam. But in Rotterdam, we're going to be occupying 2 spaces across the road from each other, which I'm also really excited about. And one is a beautiful old theatre called the Oude Luxor Theatre. And there will be some jazz performances there, but that'll mostly be the classical performances. Francois will be playing there, and I'll be playing there, and Dominic and Rick. But the other venue that's across the street is called Villa Italia, and it's kind of a nightclub. And it's incredible. I was actually there on Saturday we've obviously been to the venue now a few times, but they said to us, oh, you should come actually to one of the shows that we put on here to see what's possible regarding, the acoustics and the lights and so on and so forth. And I must say it was quite incredible. So I'm really excited to see the concerts also that'll be happening there, just to see how how each artist will use the venue. But and on Sunday we also have René Garcia Fons with his trio. And the last concert, I'm just checking, what's the last concert of the festival? Oh yeah, that's Jimmy Haslip, who is one of the founders of the Yellow Jackets, the band. Bob Mintz's band, and he'll be doing a tribute to Jaco Pastorius with a group of jazz players from the Netherlands. So yeah, that's just sort of in a nutshell what you can expect. There are more names playing. So anybody who's in Europe and really interested and wants to come, just check out the website, and there you'll see the whole program.
I'm so glad you're putting it on again. It's a great lineup.
Yeah.
It's a whole heck of a lot of work. But what a cool event. And it's to me, it's like a no brainer. Hop on the train or hop in the car and come over and
yes.
Those are that's the sort of event that you get, you put gas in your tank going to something like that.
Exactly.
The inspiration, carries,
exactly.
so it's really something.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly why we were like, we have to, we had one audition, and what you described is absolutely true. And, we had people from all over Europe coming to listen, from Greece and Portugal and England and Spain, and which was great. I thought, wow, that's so exciting. And it was so, I don't know, there was something really like moving about it. Obviously, I'm one of the people who organizes it. But somehow when you organize it, and I mean, you'll know this when you're in the thick of it, you don't really, I don't know, I didn't really think of that aspect of it. You just want to make sure that everybody gets there, that enough people know about it and will come, that people are playing to a full audience, full house, and that that the musicians have a good time, that the audience has a good time. You're sort of so busy with just all of the practicalities, of which there are many, that I didn't really think beforehand about the kind of impact it would have on not only the audience but also the players. And it was funny because it felt like such a coming together that felt kind of overdue in a weird way, and it was exciting to see, and especially with and I was so happy that Gary came. I mean, legend of legends, and it was so great to see somebody like him, and then somebody like Eriksson, who's of course also a legend, but much younger, and has looked up to Gary, like, as we all have, to see them then meet each other and sort of be just kind of, I don't know, kind of fans of each other. And the same happened with John Patitucci and Gary as well. And I mean, it happened with many different people at the festival, and there was something very moving about it. And I remember there was a moment when Eriksson dedicated, one of the pieces that he played to Gary, who was just sitting in the audience, and it was, I don't know, it was something really, really kind of moving and special. And, when you suddenly see all of that happen, which you don't count on at all, or I didn't even really, think of. You think, you can't, it can't just be a one-time thing. We have to have this kind of celebration every now and then, every 2 years to kind of inspire ourselves, I think, and show everybody what's possible and what's up and coming.
Yeah, it's hard to have that in mind when you're planning all the logistics of like booking the hall and we're going to get in here at 10 a.m. or this and this, or exactly. Then the inevitable just issues that arise from that. But then people like Gary Carr and Eriksson, they might not be in the same circles, otherwise. So, or John Patitucci and Gary Carr, and then to see them being brought together through their instrument in that way. I mean, it's really something special. We had Gary in Mexico this past fall. Yes. Andres Martin has a festival in Tijuana, and it was just so great to see Gary, interacting with all these different people, so it's so cool that you're doing this, and it's so great for the community. It's great for the musical community. In general, it's great for the bass community, and it's all worth it. You realize that when it actually happens and after it happens. So very
absolutely
cool. Oh.
No, that's you hit the nail on the head. When it happens, and you say, "Oh, this is what we do it for." It's true, and it's funny because it gives you sort of a taste. Because the first, the great thing about doing something like that for the first time is there's all sorts of things that you kind of can't foresee. Yeah. So there are kind of all sorts of things that probably if you could foresee them, you'd think, no, I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna take this on myself to do. But then, indeed, exactly what we've just been speaking about. When you witness all of that and you see how important it is, that then makes you think, oh no, a second time, people can miss their flights and airlines can be difficult with the bass, this can happen, or, all the nightmare scenarios that can happen and sometimes do. When you've experienced that kind of magic that can happen, that's what then makes you think, okay, even though I know all of this can happen, we have to put this on. Yeah. We can't, So it's also, I don't know, it was also somehow seeing the audience that came, because that's also something, at least for me, that the first time that you do something like this, you kind of think, people have to come. We have to sell X amount of tickets, and not only that, but there's nothing more uninspiring than playing to a half empty hall. But then you kind of think, well, then when the people come, who are they? Who are these people who come? And the first, I remember the first, when with the first edition, the audience was so, I don't know, it was such a sort of, such an engaged, respectful, surprisingly young audience who were so into it, and already asking at the end of the last day, saying, "Okay, so what are the dates of the next festival?" And you think, "Wow, And I remember back then it was like, "Well, I don't know, but we'll let you know as soon as we do." So that's kind of also something that you definitely don't. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about before, but you think, we owe it to these people as well to put on something that's just as good and hopefully even better than the first time.
Yeah, no, it's so great. It's so great to have you don't know what you've built exactly until you do it once, and then it's easier to iterate on that and sort of okay, this works here, we can try these couple things different. So I'm so appreciative that you gave it winning for round 2, and you've got all these partner organizations on board too, as I was looking on the website. So it's just very cool, and it's just a great example of community in the music world and in the bass world, and it's all good. So really, really very cool. And folks, you got to check it out. Dutch Double Bass Festival. We'll link up in the show notes. What's the website, just in case people are on a jog or something?
Yeah, of course. The website is really easy. It's ddbf.nl.
Nice.
Yeah. So easy to remember. Dutch Double Bass Festival. And there, everything is there. And and if anybody has questions or about hotels as well, if you're coming from outside of the Netherlands, there are a lot of hotels in right near the venues actually, in Rotterdam. But just email us. Our email is on the contact page, and indeed do come. Like even if you're in France or in Germany or that, I must say that's one of the great things about being in Europe is that in a few hours you can be in a completely different country, and sometimes in a few hours not only are you in a new country, but you've passed through one or two other countries on the way. And it's definitely worth coming to from abroad.
Thank you, James. And folks, check this out. Again, that easy to remember URL, ddbf.nl. That's short for Dutch Double Bass Festival. Sounds like a great event. Thank you for listening. Thanks for following along with the podcast. Thanks to the team, Trevor Jones, Mitch Mooring, Krista Copper, Michael Cooper, and Steve Hinchy. They do such fabulous work on these shows. I'm your host, Jason Heath, and we will see you again soon for more life in the low end of the spectrum.